Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Taking a Fresh Look at Dragon for Legal webinar, brought to you by Crescendo Systems and Nuance Communications. A little bit later in this webinar, we'll be doing the prize draw for the AirPods, so do please stay tuned for that. We're going to be taking a quick look at the evolution of Dragon's world-leading speech technology that has led to the powerfully accurate and easy to use software that we have today, and none more so than Dragon Legal Anywhere, or as we like to call it, DLA, which has been specifically designed for the legal profession. Next slide, please. I'm Simon Howard, a Dragon specialist for Crescendo Systems, and as the colour of my beard probably suggests, I've been involved in this technology for quite a long time. I'm also delighted to introduce you to my fellow speech recognition co-conspirators today, Vladimir Teodosiev, who is the sales manager for professional and legal solutions at Nuance Communications, the developers of DLA, and Jonathan Silverman, consultant solicitor at Sherrard's LLP, and also the founder of Silverman Advisory LLP law firm. I will be talking to Jonathan shortly about the history of Dragon, but firstly, here's a short timeline of the evolution of speech recognition technology through the eyes of a dragon. You may be surprised to learn that speech recognition originally became commercially available over 30 years ago in 1990 with a product called Dragon Dictate. Now, back then it required something more akin to what I would like to call Dalek speak to make it work, because you had to pause between each word as you spoke. The first continuous speech version of Dragon that resembles more closely what we have today was launched in 1997 by the well-known actor Richard Dreyfuss and was called far more appropriately Dragon Naturally Speaking. It was really quite something to watch words just appear on the screen in the manner they did way back then. And my favorite headline of the time in a PC magazine was quite simply, "A little piece of Star Trek just fell to Earth." And this is really where the real revolution in speech technology began. As early as 1998, we actually already saw the first primitive version of a Dragon mobile approach. Just have a little look at this piece of technology. If that isn't a piece of Star Trek, I don't know what is. In 2000, Dragon Systems technology was acquired by an American software company called Scansoft, who subsequently changed their name to Nuance Communications in 2005, around the time that the 9th iteration of Dragon Naturally Speaking was being released. In 2011, an SDK was launched, and within that SDK, it enabled authors to be able to create dictations using speech recognition, but to be able to deliver it, if you like, in the background to secretarial support, who would collect that speech recognized text and effectively would just need to edit it from that point in time onwards. In 2015, we saw the first, if you like, true version of a Dragon mobile solution, Dragon Anywhere Mobile, which was able to support the smartphones we use today on both iOS and Android platforms. Fast forward now to 2021, and 4 significant developments occurred. Firstly, Dragon went to the cloud. And that has had significant benefits. It's now incredibly easy to install. It's incredibly easy to deploy across a whole organization. And probably most important of all, the performance and consistency of the program is pretty much guaranteed, because no longer does the heavy lifting of speech recognition have to occur on a local machine. Another major advance is that you no longer need to train the speech profile. And I'm sure you will be hugely surprised at just how accurate the software is now, literally out of the box, or if you will, from the cloud. 2021 also saw the introduction of a new type of technology into the program, something that we call deep learning artificial intelligence based technology. And that has massively improved the ability of the software to understand the context of the text that it's actually dealing with. And then the fourth major development, drum roll please, was that finally a dedicated legal version of Dragon has been released, DLA, which is of course the subject of today's webinar. Next slide, please. So let's relive a little bit of history with Jonathan Silverman, a true pioneer in the legal profession of Dragon technology, who goes right back to the early days. Good afternoon to you, Jonathan.
Hi.
Hi, and I have a quick question for you. As one of the earliest professional adopters of Dragon speech recognition back in the mid-90s, you must have seen huge changes in the technology, not least of which being able to speak naturally and continuously rather than having to pause between each word, as I mentioned earlier. Yep. And presumably, there were also a number of other challenges in that era and moving forward without the processing power that we have available today.
Yeah, I think there's been such huge changes over the last 20 odd years in relation to computers and how voice recognition has now come of age, in that when I first started, as you said, I started with the original version of Dragon where you dictated word by word. But even that was better than a one-finger typist, as I was in those days. And within a few months of using it, you became very familiar with it. Again, a real distinction now, as you say, is you just switch it on and use it. And even for a new user, there's no learning process. When I first started with the Naturally Speaking program, there was a training package which came with it. And before you could start using it, you had to spend about half an hour reading through a script. And you could either choose Alice in Wonderland or something else. But the one that I always chose was JFK's inaugural speech, which is quite a terrific piece of literature. But I nearly learned it off by heart because every time I changed version of Dragon, I had to do it again. That's
I remember it well.
That's it. And I think what's key about the whole thing is that Dragon has moved on just as technology has moved on. Gone are the days when computers are incredibly expensive to upgrade their memory. And again, the very fact that it's now in the cloud is very significant because it means you can use it on nearly any piece of equipment you've got. So huge changes. The training process is much, much easier now. Doesn't really need it. Don't have any problem if you've got a cold or whatever. It learns your accent very quickly. And I suppose what really distinguishes Dragon from its competitors in the bundled packages you either get with Siri or with Word is this ability to learn. And once it's learned a word, it keeps that in its memory. So when you've got a complicated name for a client or a legal phrase, it gets it. And it's contextually very, very accurate. Again, the sort of changes which we've seen is that when you showed the box earlier of Dragon, people used to wear a headset. Well, you can't get a lawyer to wear a headset because they're trying to answer the telephone, turn around and talk to a colleague, and they'll probably strangle themselves, as they regularly did. So we abandoned headsets very fast and started using microphones. The Philips one, which people use for digital dictation, works really well with Dragon. Nowadays, even built-in microphones in laptops have reached the stage now where they'll capture Dragon very effectively. So huge changes, all very positive. It works. It just works really well.
Sure. And that's spoken from a man who has suffered for his art over the years and seen all these massive improvements that we have today. And yet, despite those hurdles, Jonathan, you obviously stuck with it. And you must have felt even then that your law firm was already realizing benefits in terms of both the productivity it offered and the admin and workflow costs that would ordinarily be involved.
Yes, I think if we look back to late 1990s, we were a very small law firm at that stage, and we were still running on a ratio of 1 secretary to 1.5 fee earners. By adopting Dragon, it meant that we could actually let secretaries go and replace them with paralegals So there was a fee earner setting in a desk rather than a cost center. And the ability to generate emails quickly yourself and to amend up documents and to just do all correspondence without relying on a third party was enormously helpful. And it actually helped our firm grow enormously, because one of the things, when people joined us, we didn't have to get an extra secretary. We just gave them a package of Dragon and they were up and running.
Fantastic. And one final question for you, Jonathan. Obviously, the legal profession is very document heavy, and I guess an obvious choice for speech recognition. But we've seen that adoption has actually somewhat stalled over the years, intervening, and largely, I guess, because of digital dictation workflow. I wonder if you have a view on this. And secondly, sorry, do carry on.
No, I think on that particular point, it is very interesting. Lawyers are very conservative, but like elephants, they have very long memories. So what did happen is you now still got practitioners who you say, do you use Dragon? They said, oh, I tried that some years ago. It's not very good. And I will just say to them, well, if you look at the car you drive now, compared with the car you were driving 20 years ago, it's different technology. And you can't judge something by a historic version. So the people who tried early and gave up now are reluctant to come back to it. They don't really appreciate how advanced Dragon has become.
Sure. And it is one of the extraordinary aspects, as you've just highlighted, of the technology. And I guess it goes back to what I was saying earlier, that it really does have almost a sense of Star Trek about it, to the point where perhaps some people don't believe that it will ever actually work as successfully as indeed it can nowadays. But hopefully times are changing, and lawyers will be exposed to some of the benefits, as hopefully you'll see in a short while that this technology now offers. Thank you very much for that, Jonathan. That was very insightful. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm now going to introduce you to my colleague, Vladimir, who's going to talk to you about the new version of Dragon Legal Anywhere in the cloud, and describe to you some of the features and benefits that you can now expect to enjoy with this technology. Over to you, Vladimir.
Thank you very much, Simon. It was really interesting to see the evolution slide, and it's very interesting to hear Jonathan speak about it as well from a personal perspective. And actually, as a matter of fact, it was only last month when we celebrated Dragon Naturally Speaking's 25th anniversary. From my perspective, personally, I saw the technology for the first time in 1999 in a movie with Denzel Washington, where it was actually used for assistive technology purposes. So it was really, really impressive back then as a concept, but I think even more so today, given what you can achieve with it. So yeah, quite rightly, our kind of legal variant of the solution called Dragon Legal Anywhere is kind of growing in adoption as kind of months go by, and it can really help professionals empower them to create these high quality documents irrespectively of the environment. So whether they're in a kind of an office environment, you have access to your desktop or a laptop computer. And now obviously people are becoming more mobile and kind of use their phones with them. And that can really help organizations save time and money. And that kind of productivity angle, we see quite a bit of growth in that aspect when people kind of approach the technology or kind of want to evaluate it at some moment in time. So the kind of the unique thing about Dragon Legal Anywhere, in comparison to, let's say, Dragon Professional Anywhere, is the kind of the specific vocabulary that kind of has a dramatic effect on reducing errors and increasing accuracy levels. So you can get very good results straight out of the box. But again, to reiterate the point that you made, Jonathan, it's phenomenal that basically you can just click a button, you start to dictate, and you get these results straight away on the screen. So no longer you need to kind of invest a lot of hours beforehand before you can reap these benefits, and that has had a kind of a very positive effect on the adoption as well for the legal sector. by bringing some quick and tangible benefits. So the fact that it's in the cloud, obviously, it's quite critical as well. So obviously, it's hosted in UK. It covers all the GDPR requirements, as well as information security requirements at a very high level and standard, and it's kind of used in kind of small legal firms, medium-sized, even large ones as well. So the good thing about the cloud infrastructure is that it removes another barrier to entry in terms of the hardware aspect, as all the heavy lifting is done in the cloud. So basically what that really means in simple terms is that virtually any specification of machine can have Dragon installed, and you'll be able to kind of benefit from that. Another kind of interesting point, and something that has been a setback for some clients in the past, has been compatibility with Citrix, which is another tick in the box that the DOA kind of delivers. So we talked briefly about the mobile app. So the good thing about that is that obviously, if you work both in office and you're going and meeting clients, you'll be able to benefit from the kind of the advancements of your voice profile, because it's going to be synced. So it truly is an anywhere solution, as the name suggests, which is quite important. But more importantly, there is a specific feature that is becoming more popular in terms of the customizations and auto text functionality, which is very useful when professionals use standard or repetitive text, which can be a simple client care letter. It might be terms and conditions, or basically as far as the kind of the individual requirements or goal, or the kind of the specific practice area of law dictates, which is quite phenomenal. And I'm sure that Simon will be able to share an example of this very shortly in his demonstration. One last thing that I wanted to mention as well is that basically the architecture is designed in such a way that these customizations, you can also share them with your colleagues. So they're not really specific to your devices, but you can actually share them with your colleagues in different departments. It can be even firm-wide if that is a requirement. And in addition to that, obviously, we've known that kind of speaking is faster than typing, but it doesn't really provide the kind of a great management insight for making informed decisions. So the comprehensive usage and analysis feature actually allows legal firms to be able to measure these productivity gains and the effect that that would have on billing hours and profit per equity part, and all these important metrics that that people are interested in. And not only that, but you can measure cost savings as well across organizations. But yeah, having said all of this, obviously it's a concept best appreciated visually. So Simon, I'm looking forward to the demonstration that you've kindly prepared for us.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that, Vladimir, and for that overview. And in fact, on the analysis side of it, we'll be returning to that in a short while. But of course, in the meantime, here's the main event, a demonstration, a real-time demonstration of Dragon Legal Anywhere. So allow me, please, just to share my screen with you. Hopefully now you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. And you'll see in the center of my screen here, this is actually the Dragon toolbar, and it's very straightforward. You just simply, you have a microphone icon on the left-hand side, which in a moment I'm going to left click on and it will go live. And you have some options on the right-hand side. And really, there is no more to it than that. So without any more to do, let me just give you a quick guided tour of Dragon Legal and show you a few of the features and benefits that the technology can offer. Okay. Open client letter. Next field, all caps on, fraudulent misrepresentation, all caps off. Next field, Mrs. Jones, comma, new paragraph. Many thanks for your telephone call of earlier today, full stop, new paragraph. If I understand correctly, comma, it is your belief that your ex-husband owned a maximum investment plan during the course of your marriage, but failed to disclose it during the matrimonial proceedings and resultant agreement, full stop. New paragraph. If this were the case, my feeling is that you would be able to have the current matrimonial agreement revoked in either the Court of Appeal, comma, London, or, comma, alternately, comma, by instigating a setting aside action in the High Court, full stop. New paragraph. Obviously, comma, we will require sight of the documentation concerning the investment plan, and I would be most grateful if you could organise an appointment in this regard, full stop. New paragraph. I look forward to hearing from you in due course. Open case notes. Next field. Client Deborah Jones, hyphen, matrimonial agreement dispute. Next field. Matrimonial agreement reached 3 months ago on 23 April 2019, full stop. New line. Our client has since discovered that her ex-husband failed to disclose the existence of a 10-year maximum investment plan in his favour and with a value of £250,000 at maturation, full stop. New line. Husband did not disclose this information throughout the matrimonial proceedings or the resultant agreement, full stop. New line. The plan represents a material non-disclosure of an important asset that would have affected the terms of the matrimonial agreement, full stop. Doctrine of a barame fide, open bracket, contracts of the utmost good faith, close bracket, full stop, new paragraph. Fraudulent misrepresentation. Next field. Carter case law. Next field. Matrimonial agreement will need to be set aside and a new agreement drawn up to reflect the significant asset in the husband's favour, full stop. Next field. Contact counsel for advice and organise a meeting with our client, full stop. Pleading document to be drawn up for relevant court submission, full stop. Next field. Simon Howard. Open Outlook. New mail. Keith Jones. Press enter. Subject field. Client Deborah Jones, hyphen, material non-disclosure. Start message. Dear Keith, comma, new line. I hope you are well, full stop, new line. Our firm would like to engage you with regard to providing advice on a matrimonial agreement involving a material non-disclosure and, comma, potentially, comma, fraudulent misrepresentation, full stop. New line. Please could you let me know your availability next week for an introductory meeting with our client, comma, Mrs. Jones, full stop. In the meantime, comma, I will organise for a full brief to be sent to your chambers, full stop. New line. Many thanks and look forward to hearing from you, full stop. New line. New line. Email signature. Create pleading document. Next field. Firm address. Next field. Royal Courts address. Next field. Mrs. Deborah Jones. Next field. Mr. Peter Jones. Next field. 123/789-2018. Next field. All caps on. Setting aside matrimonial agreement. All caps off. Next field. That plaintiff applies to, all caps on, set aside, all caps off, the matrimonial agreement dated 23 April 2019, on the basis that the defendant failed to disclose a maximum investment plan in the sum of £250,000 during the course of proceedings that resulted in the matrimonial agreement, full stop. Next field, 24 July 2019. Next field, firm address. Next field, firm name. Microphone off. Okay, so that just gives you a quick overview of how the product works and some of the features inherent in it. I think it's also important to mention at this point in time that one of the great assets of speech recognition is that you're not entirely compelled to use it all the time if you don't want to. So if there are some aspects that you prefer simply to use your keyboard or your mouse to do, then of course they're interactive the whole time. So it really is a very user-friendly type of tool that is very much designed for you to get the best from it and to use it in the way that best suits yourself. Okay, let me just stop sharing the screen now and we should be back. Yes, we are. Lovely. Okay. So now you've had a look at the technology. Crescendo Systems are delighted to give you the opportunity to try it for yourself. And we offer 30-day free trial licenses, which gives you a chance to really put the technology through its paces and see how well it works for yourselves. Now, as was mentioned by Vladimir earlier, one of the really powerful things about this cloud version of Dragon Legal is that it also features an analysis module. And that means that at the end of that trial, we're able to produce a report for you, which will show you the amount of usage that has been carried out during that trial period, and also the potential for time savings and cost savings that have been generated as a consequence. That information we can further extrapolate even up to a firm level. So you really have the opportunity to create a solid return on investment business case to support use of the software going forward. Now, if you're interested in a free trial, there is a link in the chat section of this webinar. Have a look at that. If you click the link, you can contact ourselves and we'd be more than happy to discuss setting up a trial for you. Okay, next slide, please. And indeed, it's that we've got to that time where we're going to do the prize draw for the AirPods. So in a moment, I'm going to ask my colleague Olivia to start up the random generator. And within a few short moments, we should have a winner of the prize draw. And I'm just trying to find the winner. And I believe the winner is Asim S. So congratulations to Asim S. And we will obviously be in contact to organize the delivery of your prize forthwith. Okay, thanks very much for that. Next slide, please. So we've arrived at Q&A. And just a little bit of housework before we go on to the Q&A, just to let you know that any email communications that derive from this webinar and responses to questions that you may send in, you will receive email communications from Crescendo Systems. Okay, so let's open up the question and answer session and see if you have some questions for us.
So Simon, I can actually take it from here and just kind of read a couple of the questions, if that's
lovely.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
Thank you.
the first question that kind of came on board was whether the new version of the solution, or namely Dragon Legal Anywhere, would be able to fit better with Apple computers and Mac users. Is there a specific package? And I think you have a great answer for this question.
Well, it doesn't, Dragon Legal Anywhere doesn't support the Mac directly, but if you have the Windows package, then yes, it will run on that successfully. But no, we don't actually support Apple directly with the program. having said that, we do have within the program, we do have Dragon Anywhere Mobile, and that is supported on iOS and Android platforms. And that does give you the ability to be able to create work on the mobile version, which you can then subsequently sync up with the Windows version, your core profile, if you like, in order to carry on your work with it from there on.
Fantastic, thank you, Simon. And I think we have two more questions. One is for Mr. Silverman, and the question reads: what is the core application of that you use Dragon with? Is it within Microsoft Word, or do you use any other applications such as Clio or other legal practice management software as well?
I use it across the board. So I use it in Word, although it's not necessarily designed for Excel. I actually use it in Excel words, spreadsheets rather, when I'm putting documents together. I use it for marking up documents in Word. I use it in iManage. I use it in Outlook. Frankly, it sits in with most packages. In that way, it's a very useful additional tool. And as was said earlier, you use it as and when you need to use it. So if I'm marking up a document that comes in, there are certain bits I might want a keyboard, but other bits where I've got some long narrative, and I'll just switch on Dragon and just drop the text in. Very flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point to repeat, actually, Jonathan. That it really is, you know, it is a tool that you need to use it to work for yourself and to fit into your workflow in the way that suits you best. So don't feel in any way intimidated by the technology. It's there to help.
It's actually very interesting. When I started it using Dragon, it was introduced to me by an ex-IBM salesman. And IBM had done some research which satisfied them that the brain works differently whether you're dictating, keyboarding, or writing. Mm-hmm. So there are certainly different modes. And, you know, there are days when you just don't want to talk to your computer, just keyboard.
Absolutely. And you know, that is the reality. The reality is that it is a change in the way that you work. And you're quite right that, you know, there's a slightly different process when you're typing and thinking and creating to when you're talking and creating. I think the great thing about this technology now is because all of those barriers we were talking about earlier have now been removed. So you literally can hit the ground running with it immediately, means that you are able to become very comfortable and confident with it in a very short space of time. And I think that's a major advantage in the technology today.
Yeah, and we have one last question. I think we've kind of more or less answered that, but nevertheless. So Christian, who is actually, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, is asking us basically whether Dragon needs to be necessarily integrated within a case management system, or again, as we kind of picked upon this, it can be actually adjusted to the individual's way of working. So they just need a bit of assurance that it can sit basically as a kind of the little Dragon bar, and that it can be used within any application.
Absolutely. And the way to describe that is that what Dragon Legal Anywhere does is it actually interfaces as opposed to integrates. So it sits as a layer, if you like, on top of all those applications. And provided it's a Windows-based application, the answer is a simple one. Yes, it will work within those environments very successfully.
Fantastic. I think that kind of was the last question. So thank you very much for this.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much, Vladimir. Thank you to my panelists. Thank you, Jonathan, for your very valuable insight. And thank you to the audience for attending this webinar. I hope you found it useful. And as I said earlier, if you're interested in doing a 30-day free trial, please use the link in the chat section, and we'd be delighted to speak to you. Okay, I think we're at an end. So once again, thanks very much for your time. And the webinar is now complete. Thank you.